Hello, everyone. I wanted to show you how you can add a grid system into your project because I know a lot of you were interested in that. I also wanted to quickly show you how to use ChatGPT to learn something new. So if you just search ChatGPT, I actually already did this video and it didn't record my audio, so I have some of the I have the conversation back here that I can refer to. The free version is GPT 3.5. I have a GPT 4 because I pay for my version. I use it a lot to learn things. I use it as like a co-teacher when I'm like running out of ideas. I use it to like bounce ideas back and forth if I need to. And again, I just recorded this video, but it didn't pick up my audio, so I can actually show you the conversation and what it looks like. Let me actually do it for you in real time. So if you type into this message bar, I had asked it, can you make a 3x3 grid in HTML without Bootstrap? So I wanted to know because I always use Bootstrap because that's like the way I was taught, but there must be like an easier, or I wanted to know if there's an easier way. So I asked it this right here, and see it's generating some code for me, and then it's going to give me an explanation. So it also named it exactly what it named the previous conversation. So it's giving me some HTML code. So yep, it's going to be able to do this. It tells me we use CSS grid to create a 3x3 grid with equal columns and a 10 px gap, a 10 pixel gap between the grid items. You can customize the appearance of the grid items by modifying the styles in the style section. What's really funny is when I asked it before, I used the same prompt right here, and it gave me a little bit more explanation, right? So it gave me like a different explanation. So it just kind of goes to show you, like, it is generating the answer for you. It's not just like a Google search. It like actually just generates it on the fly. When I asked it before, it gave me an explanation about like what this was, which I was interested in. You can always follow up and ask it more questions. Like I said, could you explain this part of the code because I didn't understand it, and it explained it a little bit more for me. And then I asked it, what if you wanted, so it just generates a column where each of the units are one fraction, so they're equal in weights. So when you put the columns in, let me show you what it looks like. So I've been given this answer. This right here is the CSS, so I'm going to put that in. I can tell it's CSS because the ChatGPT put it in the style section of my head of my HTML, but I like to put this in my CSS. So I'm going to copy this. I use a separate style sheet. I don't put it in the head of my HTML. That's kind of an older style of doing that. I'm going to paste it here. Okay, that's in my CSS. I'm going to use Command S, so that beautifies it. It kind of pushes everything to the left. And then I'm going to pick up the grid container that it gives me right here. So this is another part, and that's my HTML. So I'm going to go back to my HTML. And after my first heading, I'm going to push down the destinations, and I'm going to pop that thing right there, okay? And if I'm looking at it, so I have a grid right here, a 3x3 grid, and then I have my destinations on the bottom. So if I wanted to start transitioning my destinations, I can cut that here and put that in. And you know what, let me push these down a little bit. And let me see. Okay. I was trying to get multiple mouse clicks, but it's kind of a fancy thing that I learned how to do, but it doesn't look like it does it anymore. Okay, I'm gonna paste it. There's my destination 1 in here. And my destination 2, I'm gonna cut it. I'm gonna paste it there. Destination 3. I just wanna quickly show you what this looks like right here. And it's nice that I have these little comments, so it's easy for me to find the code here. Destination 5, and I think I only have 5 destinations here. Okay, and if I do Command S, it will make everything look nice, or Control S if you're on a PC. And if I refresh my page here, you can see that it creates like a grid system here. Okay. And I had asked, again, in my previous conversation, I had asked ChatGPT if I wanted to get so that each of the columns have equal widths. And I had asked it, first I asked it to explain what that code is. It says a shorthand way of defining grid columns in CSS grid. And it breaks it down for me. So again, I use ChatGPT to learn things that I don't know. It is tricky if you don't know a little bit about a topic because, like, I don't know how often kids can use it to actually I mean, I teach introduction to coding, so I don't know how much they can use it to cheat on my assignments because the intro is just so easy to do that I think that the response ChatGPT would generate would be such at a much higher level than they kind of wouldn't understand that it would be at a high level. So it's easy for me to spot when students are cheating, but I like using it a lot to learn a new topic, especially when I can go back and forth in conversation with it. I had asked it, can you show me what the code is like when you want one column to be 50% and the other two to be 25%? And what it did in this is in the grid template column. So essentially, it made these, let's look at the HTML again. It made these classes called grid container. It's a div, and it set the class, which is another way to name it, into grid container. And then it made another div inside that grid container, which is called grid item. It made 9 of those. And then what it did for the CSS was, oh, if you look at your CSS up here, it said for the grid container display is grid, and it said grid template columns. It wanted to repeat 3 columns and then 1 fraction for each column. So each column had equal weight. And then the grid gap is 10px. So if I wanted to increase the grid gap here, I bet we can mess around with this a little bit. So I could make it larger if I wanted to, like 15. All right, and you'll see like the gap should be getting bigger for these. Let me see if it, let me do like something kind of big here. Let's see if it actually creates a much bigger gap. Yeah, so like you can see the gap between here is fixed. Now, what did I set to? 20px. Okay. I could change the background color if I wanted to. So the grid items, the things that have a class of grid item, I can make a different background color here if I wanted to. The padding is the space inside. That was 20px. So that's this little distance between where the box starts and then where the border starts. Then that creates a border radius. Again, you can take that out. And then oops, that's this one. This is, sorry, it aligned the text to the center and it put the font size at 24. So it just kind of automatically generated it. Once you know what you're doing, you can sort of modify it as you go. And then I asked it to create a 50, 25, 25 spread. So if I checked out what this looks like right here, okay, I could try this I could put this in here. I think it's, when I tried it, yeah, so you could do this. The problem is the columns all the way down on the left-hand side is that 50%, and then you have 25, 25. Of course, you'd have to modify the width of the picture here to reflect, like you'd have to be a little bit smaller if you wanted to. You could also probably have a more advanced grid system where the columns are, you could have a row with different columns in it, and then maybe also have a variety of like widths for your cells. Again, you can use ChatGPT to come up with some more programming if you want, or to ask it how to do specific things, and then kind of play around with the coding to see what that does. But hopefully that helps you create a grid system. And then, if you wanted to experiment with ChatGPT to learn some new stuff, feel free.